Welcome to the Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network, Final Fan TV. Head over to finalfantv.com for links to follow us, view our content, listen to our podcast services, and even watch us live, like Vincent Graymore is. I am the chosen warrior of hype, and joined with me is the Viagra Fighter, the Faraga Fighter. How are you, Vinny? I'm going to get that name right one day.
I'm doing all right, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing fine because I've asked these industry professionals and Final Fantasy fans how they pronounce your name, and even they had different answers. So I'm okay, you know what I mean? Like, everything's okay. But speaking of, as stated on the official website of ffix-memoria.com, quote, Final Fantasy IX Memoria Project is a non-playable passion project led by a team of professional developers and artists in the video game industry that aims to reimagine what the legendary game would look like if it was made with modern graphical capabilities. And quote, well, speaking of modern graphics, the team is working within the latest Unreal Engine 5. We'll talk about that in today's podcast, as well as what sparked the idea and the plans for the project, and the plans for the project from here on out. But first, it's with great privilege to introduce three industry professionals from the team working on the Memoria Project. Lead environment artist, Kim. Principal environment artist, Colin, and lead prop artist, Ronco. I'll kick this one off with Kim. Kim, you are currently the senior environment artist at Rare, working on Sea of Thieves, and recently contributed to Ember Lab's absolutely just mind-blowingly gorgeous game, Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which I believe we have you to thank partially for, obviously you worked on that.
You're welcome, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the game is mind-blowing. So thank you for that. Phenomenal job on that game. So do you care to share a bit more about yourself, and how this Memoria project came to be?
Yeah, I mean, well, you kind of summed up mainly what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm at Rare, working on Sea of Thieves, hoping to move to Everwild. And I've just been a massive Final Fantasy fan since, like, growing up. My brother kind of got me into the franchise. I think I started with FF8. That was like my first entry into the franchise, and I've just made my way playing all of them, as many as I can. But the whole Memoria project, I think Colin can probably run me through actually, like, how it started, because he was like the second person on the project. I just joined after they posted everything online. I was like, I want to work on that thing. Like, it looks awesome. It's still block out, but it looks awesome. So I just reached out and kind of, I think Dan and Colin like my portfolio, and we just carried on building from there.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So let's kick it over to Colin. Colin, you're an environment artist over at Sucker Punch. So you helped breathe the life into what I consider one of the most beautiful video games ever made. And that's my personal opinion. I just sit there and I found myself in the photo mode of that game for probably, maybe if not longer than the actual game itself. I was in the photo mode. Each progression of the story just was a new opportunity to take a photo, so I was just admiring the views. So could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the experiences that created the Memoria project?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I work at Sucker Punch, and I mostly do biome work, so like working on foliage and creating, the trees and shrubbery and stuff like that. But yeah, as for the project, I know Dan's been working on like fan art for FF9 for probably forever.
He was born.
Yeah. Exactly. He was born with a tablet pen. It's probably like 2 years ago or so that he reached out to me. I think he just saw one of my portfolio pieces where I remade a piece from Final Fantasy VII as just like a student project. But so yeah, he reached out and I was super excited. And so we started to brainstorm a bit, but I think pretty quickly we decided like Alexandria would be, the perfect setting to try and recreate. It's just, so iconic and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of started this long process. And it wasn't until like earlier this year, I think, like spring or something, that we finally had something kind of decent. Like one of the buildings blocked out, and Dan rendered it with some nice lighting. And so he posted that on social media everywhere, and it got quite a response. And I think that's right around when Kem came on board, both Kem and Ian, who's our animation lead. And like from that point, basically our team just started to kind of explode in size. And it was all exponential after that point.
Yeah, shout out to Dan. That's actually how I discovered the Memoria Project. That's at 3DANEDER. If you want to look at Twitter, he posted a lot about Memoria Project. So thank you so much for sharing that, Colin. Over to Ronco. Ronco, you are the senior environment artist at Firaxis Game. Is that correct?
Firaxis, yeah.
Firaxis Game. Hey, maybe that's a clue on how we pronounce Faraga Fighter. It's got, you know what I mean? Firaxis Games, who recently announced Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is, from my understanding, is to iterate upon the very successful strategy game XCOM from Firaxis. But this time you got Wolverine and Iron Man. You know? So Ronco, I saw on your ArtStation profile that you remade some of Final Fantasy 12 and Tactics environments, which I was just blown away by. So amazing work on that. So was it due to these recreations that brought you to the Memoria Project, or how did that go? And tell us a little bit more about yourself as well.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the games industry like 15, 16 years now, and worked, lots of different places like indie studios and Blizzard, Riot. And so now I'm at Firaxis, and I started doing a lot of Final Fantasy fan stuff myself, and I'm especially in love with like Ivalice and the way that like that whole world feels and like the art direction behind all that stuff. So that's inspired me for like years, and was one of the reasons I went into games, like period. And so Dan saw my art. I guess he saw my work and reached out and asked if I wanted to help. And I was actually getting ready to do my own FF9 like fan piece at some point. I have this whole thing of like, I want to create a fan piece for every title in the series, and I've done 2 so far. So I'm just kind of going down the list, And I saw, like I've known Cam and Colin. I've seen their work on like ArtStation, but I never knew any of them, or So I figured it would be a cool way to like get to know some people,
Yeah.
So I joined.
That's incredible. I can't wait to see more work of this projects of recreating from one piece from every game. That's going to be amazing. I'm really excited.
Take a while.
That's gonna take
a while.
Because if you go to his ArtStation, which I'll provide links in the YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description. You can go check out some amazing work from these talented individuals. They're not just pictures too. Like you have beautiful animated renders of these of Final Fantasy 12 and Tactics. So they're awesome, and it's what you can expect from the Memoria Project, which you can hopefully you've already seen the trailer that they've just released not too long ago. So Vinny, do you have the document open?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So speaking of the trailer, you guys just released it showcasing the visuals, and just wow, seeing these classic locations dressed up in all of its glory and power of Unreal Engine 5 was just truly beautiful. It was honestly breathtaking. And so like, what is it like recreating these PlayStation 1 assets inside of the Unreal Engine 5?
This
difficult.
Is a question for anybody.
Yeah. I think Ranko could jump in obviously because a lot of the original reference is so blurry. Like there's so much interpretation when you're looking at a building, for example. Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that fucking thing is, but you just kind of have to get creative. And I think, at least for me, I feel like my experience in the industry kind of helped me inject that like creativity or like how something could be built. But a lot of it is just almost guesswork and spending a lot of time just understanding how things are basically made in the real world.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting because the original, we're not really looking at like a 3D scene exactly. It's more like a single shot, fixed camera location. So they definitely could get away with a lot of stuff and kind of fake some things. So it's kind of interesting looking at that, but then also interpreting it into a way that would actually, feel right, like as someone as a character walking through the environment. So that's been kind of a fun challenge to approach.
Yeah, it's weird too. Like, you can't just like one-to-one recreate stuff either because it looks off, in my opinion. Like, because like your brain does a lot of the work when you look at those old games because they're so low res. Your brain is doing a lot of work to like fill in the gaps, right? And so they tend to look more detailed than they actually are when you kind of look at them in retrospect. So like when we build like a thing, even something as simple as like a barrel or like a chest, you have to kind of like make it feel like the original, but add a lot more like layers in terms of like how was this thing built. Like people now will see this at like 4K, right? So you have to insert a lot of that detail yourself, right? So it's been an interesting challenge.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's and you can even see the one of the treasure chests on your art station, and in all of its glory, it looks beautiful. So one of the most exciting aspects of this project, I imagine for you, I think it's exciting as well. But one of the most exciting aspects of the project is that it's bringing together industry professionals from multiple different studios, so from around the world too at that. So I guess, this is being done on your free time, so you guys are working on this on your free time. It's not paid or anything like that. It's just a passion project, and I imagine that this is similar to like the game developer conference, right? So like where you guys get together, you're able to swap creative techniques and learn new things from each other, but with this you're creating something together, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. So what's that process been like for you guys, and like the most rewarding aspects of it?
Anyone want to take it, or should I jump in?
Anybody
Go
jump
for
in?
it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been pretty rewarding for me. Like Ranko said, it's a nice way to meet other people from the industry. And it's just a really good way of learning new workflows and just kind of sharing ideas and techniques on like how to do certain things, because everyone has their own opinion on how to tackle like a specific subject. So I think bouncing ideas back and forth really just helps us get to where we got with the trailer. Of course, like it's an iterative thing. Like I have old screenshots of what we had like a month prior to the trailer, and like the difference is just night and day. But I feel like at that month prior, like you're thinking, it's finished, but there's so many small things that you can tweak that other people suggest, and I think that's where the collaborative team effort is like just really beneficial. And it's not something you get when you work on your own project. Like if you're working on your own project, it's a bit easier to just put it on the shelf for a year. But with the Memoria project, even though it's like passion and it's our own free time, like there's still that little bit of like, it's not a job, but like there's still that thing where it's like, like maybe I should do something this weekend. Everyone else is working on something, like it'd be to put in a bit of it just gets that motivation going. So we just try and keep that driven.
We have a very active Discord server, which is really nice. And since we're all huge fans, it's just like, it's really cool to be around other fellow Final Fantasy enthusiasts. And kind of what Ken was saying, it's really awesome to just see other people's work too. And I know personally it's a great learning experience. Like, I don't know how to make buildings really well, so I just kind of like make Ken do all of it and watch how he does it. So it's really cool.
Ranko?
Yeah, for me it's mainly like motivation, like Kem said. It can be really hard when you do your own projects to like finish them, as everyone knows, like things get in the way. But when you have people who like count on you, like I thrive in that kind of environment. Like I need people to like put a fire under my ass. And then it's just like, all right, cool, I'll make the thing, So so it's been cool. And like at my own job too, like I don't get to do a lot of props. I mostly do structure work, so it's really cool to like flex my muscles in like other directions, you know. And so yeah, it keeps me kind of from burning out at my own like job personally too, which is nice. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It's, I mean, kind of like for me personally, like, I have Vinny, like, you know, Vinny's, we do this together type thing. So where it's kind of like we bounce ideas off of each other, and you're brainstorming better when you're, like you said, if you're working on a project solo, you're just kind of like, it's kind of like you fall into a rut, you know, and you're like, eh. And also, I guess we have Patreon supporters, and it's just like, oh well, we should probably make some content. Yeah, we should probably do some. These guys, they obviously like us enough to contribute. So let's do something. So yeah, I mean, I totally get that. Yeah. Vinny, is your
No, the next one is yellow.
Is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
so,
you're good.
So we know that this is a non-playable visual showcase of what Final Fantasy IX would look like with modern graphical capabilities. We've seen the opening of Alexandria remade. My question is, what's next? Is the plan to go from town to town, showcase a trailer for each? Are there plans to recapture iconic moments in like maybe a set piece cinematic type thing, or what's the plan from here on out?
The current plan, go for it, Colin.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, for now, we're just focusing on Alexandria, but I think we're definitely open to other ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it depends how much like this stuff takes time. Like
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think if we were all doing this full time, we would have finished it this month. Like, it would have been done a lot quicker. But it's because it's only in our spare time, so it takes a lot longer to finish these things. But like
for sure,
said, it's
so
we've
definitely thrown around ideas though. Like yeah, it would be cool if we did, you know, like I don't know, like a little fighting scenario or something.
Like a battle.
So, are you doing the play? Like you know, like.
I think on the cards there was like again, it's just like ideas you brainstorm. I think like Dan and Colin were talking about remaking like one of the like a battle scene, for example, like how that might look. You know, because there's some really, I guess, like iconic or like really nice background fight scenes in FF9 that could be remade.
Yeah.
You know, and that's more of like I feel like that leans more to a gameplay side of thing. Like you want to hook up like battle systems and all the animation and everything on that side of things.
Yeah. So it is a fairly organic process. I mean, we kind of have a general idea, but you know. We're not
Trainer would be cool.
Fixed on anything.
Yeah.
It's not like we have, you know, our producer. You
guys got to do. Right.
So, kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I mean it's awesome. So like focusing on Alexandra, it already looks just phenomenal. So being able to expand on what you guys have already created, like maybe even being able to showcase more events from Alexandria, like contain it there. It's really exciting I just can't wait to see more from you guys. It's so I guess that's why I kind of threw that in there. I'm just like, where are we going next? You know, I feel like that's on the mind of a lot of the people who saw it. So
yeah, I mean the next big thing is to just kind of, because there's like only one area of Alexandria, obviously that little courtyard, but you've got like the area where there's the mini racing game on a disc 3,
right?
Like that little where the start is. Then you've got like the whole tavern area, you know, and that like whole tavern area, because we're making it in 3D and you can like swivel the camera everywhere. Like there's nothing in the original. Like it's the camera's normally placed and you see the tavern and you go left to right.
Yeah.
So like, you know, me, Ranko, and Colin are like just we're kind of brainstorming like what's that place for when you leave the tavern, like. What are you expecting? Is it benches and stuff like that? Or so that kind of needs to be built, and then everything else in Alexandria.
Yeah.
I mean, we also picked I would say Alexandria is like one of the most detailed areas in the whole game.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a lot, and if we were building a full game, our team would be like 30 times bigger. You know, so it's like amazing how much is built with like the size team that we have. You know what I mean? So.
It's very detailed. It's really dense. There's just stuff everywhere.
Yeah. It's very impressive. Like you guys said earlier too, you're taking these assets that were blurry and or couldn't even see them, and you're building it from the ground up. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's just like the art direction of the original game too. I mean, I would argue that FF9 is in a lot of ways more detailed than even 7 or 8. Just because of the way, like, just I don't know, like the kind of like the detail level of that game is insane. Like, and so I don't know. It's like it's gonna take a while to build that whole thing out.
For
So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we heard the talents of Alex Mukala in the trailer as a music producer. Do you guys plan on bringing in voice actors for the future?
I believe so. We've got Yong Yi, kind of on standby, I guess you could say. I'm obviously ready to do like voice acting and other things, but I think the plan is to do voice acting. But it's one of those things where you wanna get it right. Like, I might anger some fans here, but I don't like the voice of Vivi in Kingdom Hearts.
This is your chance to
Like-
to do what to get the right voice
Like
for your
for me, it's like it's one of those things where there's almost 30 people, so there's going to be a lot of opinions on the voices.
for sure.
You
Yeah,
want to get it right.
that's cool. Bringing in like just the community like that. Like you've even posted, or I believe it might have been Dan that posted, which is like, hey, we're accepting some applications if you guys want to help us join the project and things like that. And even being able to have Alex Mukala, who's been on our show before, and we've talked to him. Just that's really cool.
He's awesome.
Yeah, to kind of
great
you're
guy.
bringing together not only the community, the gaming industry, like from across studios, but you're bringing together the community as well. And I think if you're going for voice actors, if you don't, that's fine too. But if you're doing that too, I mean, you're reaching out to even more, and like it's just a passion project between all of these people. I think it's fantastic. My personal favorite, I know I guess this is kind of besides point. I know you guys are focusing on Alexandria, but I was like, man, it's the namesake. It's the namesake. Can you imagine rebuilding Memoria? that is one of the most. Yeah.
That'd be fun, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start with.
Yeah. If anybody,
planning.
I just remember seeing that broken brick bridge leading up to this like Tower of Towers. It's just one of the coolest environments in the game. And I was just like, man, if you guys ever, I don't know where you're gonna go with it, whatever, but that would just be insane to see. But yeah. Okay, yeah, Vinny, you're the next question. And then we're gonna take fan questions after this. So you guys, anybody watching, yeah.
I already got some queued up.
Sweet, awesome, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's really exciting to see this resurgence of Final Fantasy IX, with Cybergroup Studios confirming that an animated series is in the works and has likely begun full production by now. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Animated one. I think I'm a fan of like any extra Final Fantasy material personally. I think like all of the 15, like all the extra material for like 7 and 15. Like I kind of watched all of that, like Kingslave and Animate Children and all of the animes. So I think it's good. I think it brings in like a fresh wave of fan base. Like I have a lot of friends that only played 13 and 15, for example. Like they don't know anything about like the traditional Final Fantasy games, or like 7, 8, 9, like the golden era. So I feel like anything that's new and refreshing might entice them to watch like the animated series, and then they may go and play the original FF9 or get a Steam release, and it's just a way to bring more people into a franchise.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't, the game didn't get a whole lot of love, or at least in the same way that 7 did. It got like all these sequels and movies and whatever. So it's kind of cool to see that it's making a comeback kind of in a way.
Yeah.
So 9 is the underrated dog.
It really is. It really is.
And 12 and 9 is so underrated.
If I remember, so 9 came out in 2000, right?
Yeah.
And then I think it was quickly overshadowed by 10, which came out in 2001, right? So I think if 10 didn't come out as soon as it did, 9 probably would have gotten a lot more love. But since 10 came out with voice acting, 3D textures and everything, it
Yeah.
kind of just overshadowed the whole thing.
I
On
think
the PS2.
if I remember correctly, I think in like the old like magazines like Electronic Gaming or something like that, they would I think they had like the review for 9, the preview for 10, like here like it's just kind of like 10 is coming, 9 is here, and plus 9 was also such a departure from these realistic graphics that we were getting graphics that we were getting from Final Fantasy 7, and then 8, who made the humans actually look proportional, and then 9, which had 2 humans, I think, maybe, and then the rest were just creatures,
breeds.
Yeah, different breeds. So 9 was definitely a departure. Yeah, in a time where, like you said, the golden age, where 7 and 8 were just going wild worldwide.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm personally all for this whole animated series coming. I mean, I'm not like, I know it says it's geared towards audiences from 8 to 12 though, or 8 to 13.
Yeah, I don't really know what, like I don't know what the series is on though. Like what part of 9? Like is it part of the existing aspect of the game, like something specific? Like,
So they're saying,
apart from Disc 1, or is it just a prequel? Like there's so much it could be.
yeah, they're saying that it's going to be based on fan favorite Final Fantasy 9, will be an adventure animation series primarily aimed at 8 to 13-year-old family, kids and family, with respect to co-viewing. It'll also target and please game players, as an adaptation will maintain the world to the game thanks to the supervision of Square Enix. So
Okay.
yeah, so I guess it's going to be
It's
faithful. Yeah.
Hope it leads to more
Sounds cool.
FF9 content.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally always saw FF9 as more of a kids game, like not like kids, but like it has some heavy themes in it, but just like the presentation of it and stuff, it's more appealing to younger audiences, I would say, than the other games. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool, like that they're doing that.
Yeah, and it's
It's like
kinda
more whimsical,
Right. Oh, that's a great word for actually the Memoria Project itself. Like, so looking at the Memoria Project, you guys chose to go with this art style or design style that was whimsical, and rather than kind of going for like, hey, let's make it look like Final Fantasy VII Remake, you went for a whimsical, and I think that fits the themes. So I love the art style. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think Dan kind of, well, at least when I joined, like kind of nailed, like we don't really want to push for the FF7 remake kind of style, because it's realistic at the end of the day. Well, it's still somewhat stylized, the remake, but it's ultimately very realistic compared to what we're going for. But I think, at least as a fan speaking, like I would prefer like Square lean more towards the stylized aspect for their games, because I feel like a lot of the more recent stuff they've done is just very cut and paste, similar. It's very ultra realistic, or tries to be. Whereas I feel like 16, for example, is kind of leaning back towards a more stylized direction. So I feel like that helps me with the Memoria project and keeping motivated, like working in a style that I like, and trying to create this art style. Like me and Colin and Dan were just, when we started in UE5, we're just kind of experimenting with the visuals, and then Ranko came on with the props, and he's got like this insane sculpting talent. Don't know how he does it, but that's kind of rejuvenated like how some of our props could look. So it's like a just iterative process.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. It feels like it's right up your alley too. Like if you based off your previous, like Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got kind of that art style. You get that with that whimsical art style. So this is right up your
Chunky.
alley. Yeah,
Yeah,
chunky.
When I joined the team and I saw it, I thought, I was like, this is like if Overwatch made an FF9 map. It's like in my mind, I was like, that's how it looks,
I'm always referencing
awesome.
Overwatch. Like any project with Overwatch has automatically board reference everywhere. Every map.
So,
I mean, yeah, but I think Colin did kind of, at least from the environment stuff, like I think he put the initial foundations. So
Nice. Well, props to Colin.
credit.
Yeah.
Credit there again.
Yeah. Credit to Colin. That just it's amazing. I love what you guys got so far. I think we're gonna actually take some fan questions. Vinny, you got some lined up?
Yep. So, Noah asks, is there a goal or an end vision? How far are you guys going to go with this project?
It's kind of what we touched on.
Kind of similar.
It's like kind of as I mentioned, we really want to just try and flesh out Alexandria. I mean, there's so much there to do, and like we've already blocked out so many areas that we haven't even seen or shown yet. But I mean, there's so much there that we just really want to, flesh out. We also want to add characters and like NPCs and animate stuff. So I think most of our focus is really just on kind of that immediate area. But,
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's not just kind of a visual thing. Like I feel like, especially in 2021, like when you play games, there's so many smaller interactions that people just maybe they take for granted when they play a game now, but they take weeks to set up. Like just Vivi looking at something or picking up objects. Just these natural systems that make the world feel alive. So we don't really want to make Alexandria where it's just a picture. Like we want to be able to have like a living, breathing world where things are actually happening in the city. So all of those things take time to research and prepare.
It's like quality over quantity,
Yeah.
Like we want to release like a gameplay like video, I guess, that people themselves can't play, but they can kind of watch like a chunky meat of gameplay and like get a really good idea of like, oh, this is what a new FF9 would actually be, So
I love that. Yeah, thank you for that too, because that was actually kind of one of my kind of personal questions. I was like, so we get this beautiful trailer. Is it going to be more of like a visual treats and stuff like that? But that's really cool. Obviously this is not going to be made available to public for them to play, but to be able to see it being kind of it's being played, but obvious for obvious
like
reasons.
an E3 demo.
Yeah,
It's like an E3 demo. Yeah. We'll have Ranko stand there with a controller and play it.
Make sure you have a technical hiccup on stage, though.
Make it legit.
Yeah,
I'll come in with Keanu Reeves onto stage.
You're breathtaking. I'll be the fan that goes, "Hey, this game's breathtaking," and then you're breathtaking.
It's not as buggy.
Yeah, like no.
It won't be, don't worry. We'll get some QA testers.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Vincent Graymore asks, what does Final Fantasy IX mean to you, like in your life? How has it impacted you?
Anybody can
Anyone want to jump in?
Anybody can
I can go. I have a good memory. Like growing up, I was always like several generations behind on consoles because like I didn't grow up in a very wealthy family. So, and when I was in high school, all my friends were playing FF9 on their PlayStations, right? And so for me, that's always the game that like I wanted, but I could never have. And so first time I played it was actually when FF10 came out, and I bought a PS2. So it's kind of like bittersweet, right? That was the game my friends always teased me I couldn't play, right? And it never came out on PC because I played all the old FF games on PC or like via ROMs, So yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, but I love the game. So
yeah, I'd say 9 is after 11. I played 11 a lot, but I'd say 9 is my favorite, like in the franchise. There's no specific reason. I think it just ticks a lot of boxes that I like about video games. Like if I want to play the best, if I was making the perfect game, like definitely be an RPG with like lots of like crafting mechanics, like the synthesizer shop, and I think just the world in FF9 really just everything about it just appeals to what it is I enjoy from a passion perspective. So like I could happily live in the world of FF9, like just plump me in Lindblom or Dreno and I'll be happy with some Tetramaster.
Tetramaster or Triple Triad, which is it, man?
Triple Triad. I own the Triple Triad collection. I have it at home, like all cards.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah,
They're just chilling in the.
That's awesome.
Definitely triple triad.
So we have a question from Animation.
Oh, what about Colin though? Colin,
We can
I
go
don't
to
think
Colin.
we didn't get Colin's story.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Sorry.
like I was still a kid when I played Final Fantasy 9. As I'm sure a lot of people, that was probably the case too. And just I don't know, Final Fantasy in general. Like 7 was probably the most influential game like period of my childhood, and then 9 was kind of like a close second. But there's just I don't know something about the fantasy world that a lot of the other games kind of didn't have. Like 7 and 8 were had some of the like sci-fi elements and stuff. So
Yeah.
I feel like 9 was like I feel like it was basically like the perfect game after they had tested all of these things from 1 to 8. Like they made all these different stories and worlds and mechanics, and 9 was just basically the perfect like game that I guess Sakaguchi wanted to make. Like for me, that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Medieval, it was rustic, it had a great art style, combat system, like everything just kind of hit.
yeah, and the music too. Like
music's
some of my
The
favorite
music, so good.
Right.
Yeah, I love to, like, I grew up playing FF6 and 4, and I think FF9 was like the first game I saw. I was like, if those games were remade on the PS1, they would look like this game, right? So, because even then we dreamed about like getting an FF4 and FF6 remake,
Yeah.
And
Still
I was like,
dreaming.
yo, FF9 is like what those games would look like, It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love how your main answers are obviously tied to environment artists and stuff. Like you just love the world and stuff like that. And then obviously the story is like you said, it felt like Sakaguchi's swan song in a way, like for Final Fantasy. So yeah, I agree with you guys. It definitely had this take you away from the world type thing and go to this different world. Whereas 8 and 7 kind of felt a little close to home in a way,
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping 16 will be, because obviously like for me like 13 and 15 are kind of like the realistic 7 and 8. So like
15 for sure felt like it was actually promoted that way. Hey, a fantasy based on reality type thing. Like
yeah,
it was, like,
so it
promoted that
leaned
way.
heavily into that. So I'm really hoping 16 kind of does what 9 did, but it's just not underrated. Like just hope it kind of is a good success and super popular.
Me too, man. I'm really
Fingers
excited
crossed.
I'm really excited about that Game Awards trailer that's coming up. I've been pushing it so like since E3. I'm like, listen, if it's not
There
at
has to be
E3, it's
one.
going to be at the Game Awards.
Is that the rumor?
That's my rumor that I've created, I guess.
We spoke it into existence.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen
I'm
now.
going to keep speaking it into existence.
Got a summoning circle on your floor.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's how I put it on for sure. Yeah, it's well, I mean, like they promised us. Like
Right.
so on their website, it still says news expected at the in 2021. So I'm just gonna hold them. I'll hold that to them. Go ahead, Benny.
So this is more of like a technical question from Animation, saying, so what does Unreal 5 do better than Unreal 4, and what parts still need improvements? What would help make this project easier?
Well, Unreal 5 has, I mean, it's still in early access, so there's a lot of like, I guess you could say, things held on with duct tape, basically. Some stuff doesn't work, some things do work. Because we made the project fresh, like I think it was after UE5 premiered and was available, it just made more sense to build in that rather than 4. And then kind of, if we upgraded from 4 to 5 now, there's like the risk where things might break and we have to figure out how to fix it. So it just made more sense to jump into 5 and deal with any bugs or issues and fix them as we go. Yeah, 5, it's the same workflow really. I'm not like a technical artist, so I don't really know like everything offers differently. There's like different lighting systems. So they're still ray tracing, but they've got a new one called Lumen, which is so kind of real-time global illumination, as I remember, and Nanite, which we're not using just because there's no real reason for us, and it's a completely different workflow to kind of teach everyone to use that. But yeah, I think it was mainly just ease of convenience. Like, let's just use 5 from the beginning.
Yeah, future.
Yeah, I think
too,
the
right?
lighting was definitely probably the biggest thing for us was you can use the like more dynamic, real time,
Yeah.
global illumination and stuff that wasn't really available in UE4 in the same way. So there's like a huge quality difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for this, the challenge more comes from like making the art stylistic in a way, you know, because it's like less technical issues and more like artistic problems to solve, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's it's future proof too, right? So like Unreal 5 is obviously where things are going. So that was a smart decision, you know, to just let's just go for it. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it was really good timing too. I mean, I think Unreal 5 came out with that demo or the beta or whatever, like right around the same time that our team was starting to come together. So they're like, you know what, screw it, we'll just go ahead and jump on that train and see how it goes.
Yeah, and it could be like I guess at least for me, like I wanted to use 5 obviously in personal projects. You want to stay up to date on like software generally, like when you're working in the industry. Like you don't want to stagnate or fall behind. So it kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone basically, where we can use like the bleeding edge, but we can also at least get familiar with UE5, which is very, very the same to 4, but at least you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Jump into it. Like if someone asks, like, "Where's this button?" Like you know exactly where it's been moved to.
You were working on it in the Memoria Project. I got you.
Exactly. So it made sense to learn 5 and use it, and hope for a stable release next year. Just soon. Come on. It's been a whole year almost.
Yeah, we'll wait patiently.
Thankfully, we don't have to ship this game, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
That's true. Look, I want this game out by December next year. Let's go, boys. You got another one, Vinny?
Nope. That's
Okay.
the gist of them now for right now.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I respect you guys, your time, and I don't want to hold you any longer than you have to be. Do you need any mocap animation for this? This is coming from Chapada SSO.
I don't know. That's probably a question for Ian. I don't think he's around.
Battles that you might be doing.
Maybe. Like we'll ask Ian. We'll get back to you on it.
All right, cool. That sounds good.
Or send in an application on the website.
Video application. We want to see your mocap. No, that's
yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about mocap because, like, I don't know how that would work with like, for example, Vivi, like smaller proportions. Like, I honestly have no knowledge on animation. Like, I wouldn't even know would that work?
That's fair. That's a fair answer. Yeah, like how?
Anyone know where Vivi is? Does he exist? Borrow him.
We could hire a
Look at a
midget,
child.
you know? Yeah, like a kid.
Just you got kids in your apartment, Ranko. They put on a makeup.
All right, just kind of like take a look at it real quick. I want to make sure we got the chat's questions. Chat, we're closing it out, so if you have any questions, please send them in. And so I just end this one. You guys got any closing thoughts? While maybe the chat can think of if they have any more questions for chime in now. Closing thoughts from you guys. Moving, and we'll start with Kim.
Regarding like in terms of what would you mean exactly?
Whatever you want to, you could tell me about your favorite Final Fantasy theme. Just give me a favorite from Final Fantasy. I don't know.
Favorite.
I'll focus it.
That's not bad. Like it's probably not one you expect, but like my favorite song is Fisherman's Horizon from 8.
That's a classic.
Nice.
Like, it's just I would spend so much time sometimes I would just like when I play games usually, like if I'm finished like a story, like a main quest, and I don't want to turn the game off, I'll just go to like a town or something that I really like Fisherman's Horizon or Balam Garden, and I'll just leave the game there and just chill, like whatever. Like I could be on my phone or whatever, but I just like listening to the music in some areas, and that is just one of the best. Like I could sit there for hours.
I like that choice. I want to go listen to it now because I gotta refresh my
Do
mind.
it.
Yeah.
Just go and boot up FFA, speedrun. Let's
time.
go.
It's time. I love the idea.
One of my favorite things to do, like in this day and age now, is like go on YouTube and listen to some of like the metal covers or the lo-fi covers that people have done of
Lo-fi is good.
Final Fantasy songs, and there are so many talented people who just make covers of these songs, and they turn out phenomenal. And it's like, like these need to be in the games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toxic's Eternity. Alex Mukala is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the guy. God, I can't think of his name. But yeah, there's a lot of great covers.
I mean, the Black Mages,
The Black Mages, of course, obviously,
Right, come on,
for
you know?
obvious reasons.
Falcone.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really cool to hear that. What about you, Colin? You can do a favorite theme, or you can just do a favorite anything from Final Fantasy.
Well, I just hope that Square Enix is watching this and that they can get the idea that there's a demand for this, and that they should.
So okay,
consider.
so are you like you do? I mean, there is a rumor obviously going around about Final Fantasy IX remake.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But they at least thought about it.
they've at least
it looks
thought,
like.
maybe thought about it, or unless it was just somebody who said, "I'm going to plant this idea on the internet and see what happens."
Yeah, who knows?
If anything, the Memoria Project for me has got me like, I think the demand for you guys are like basically directly contributing to promoting like at least the new confirmed animated series, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like the animated series is confirmed. So with Memoria Project, it's kind of like people are gonna be like, I gotta watch the show or go play the game. So I think that's a beautiful thing. You guys are hopefully get people to go play the game who haven't played the game. First of all, there is a mod for Final Fantasy IX. I don't.
It's Maguri mod.
Maguri, thank you. I was about to say Mowgli, like in Jungle Book or something. No, like... So the
I think that's like the new definitive way to play FF9, just because it does such a fantastic job.
For sure.
If you love 9 and you haven't played with it,
yeah,
doing it this service, you've got to get out there and try it.
Sure. So Colin wants to get Square Enix's attention, and I agree. How about you, Ronco?
I feel the same way. Honestly, if they do announce an FF9 remake, I want it to blow ours out of the water. You know what I mean? But I'm afraid it's just going to look like a mobile game. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, when you look at a lot of their side projects, like, you know where the resources are going, right? And that's like FF7 and FF14. But when you look at a lot of the side projects, they generally don't measure up. You know, they look like kind of cheap games, right? And they are. And I'm just afraid that FF9 is gonna, like, in comparison to those other games, it's gonna get the cheap treatment. And, like, I don't want that, you know? Like, I wanted to get the FF7 remake budget treatment, but I don't think it's ever gonna be that.
I just don't think. Tim, I don't understand why they would be working on an FF9 remake right now when they're still.
It doesn't make sense.
Right?
It's true.
Like, it doesn't make sense because I feel like I waited 15 or however many years for Kingdom Hearts 3, and then it took ages to get 15, and we're still waiting for FF7 Like, I feel like I'll be 50 by the time a FF9 remake comes out if they're working on it.
It's a weird choice too to go for. Like, it's like Final Fantasy 7 remake, yes, and then let's just go to 9. I mean, let's skip to 9, or one of my like personal like opinions. I would love to see 6 get remade. Getting like, can you imagine?
6 would be good.
Yeah, it's kind
For
of
me,
like
that needs it more, right? Like than some of the newer games. But I imagine that whatever this remake is, if it is like a real thing, it's probably like you know, like the FF7 game that they're releasing that like chronicles the whole story or
Ever
whatever.
Crisis.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably something like that, right?
Yeah, I can probably see. Honestly, I know it said in that leak or whatever, or the rumor was Final Fantasy IX remake, but I see a Final Fantasy VIII remaster type thing, like just kind of remastering it so that way it looks like I'm just gonna say Mowgli. It's what is it? The
Maguri.
The Maguri.
Maguri, I think. Maybe it's Mowgli. I don't
know.
It is.
It's the bare necessities. So yeah, I can kind of see it being like a remaster, like and kind of like ported. But
Maybe. I think-
maybe we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. But from
so-
like a game, like from making like games pipeline, like it just makes more sense to do like a 6 or 8, like Ranko said, because you can leverage a lot of the FF7 assets, especially in Final Fantasy 6. Like
Yeah,
whereas 9 is a completely different style.
it's like what you guys are doing with the
it's just
Memoria project. Yeah.
So different.
But I mean, so correct me if I'm wrong, but this is sort of how Final Fantasy VII Remake came into fruition 15 years ago with that tech display demo, right? Like that was never
Memoria
that wasn't
Project is
supposed
the
to
tech, is the tech display now.
Yeah.
I forgot that demo existed actually. Have you
You know,
looked at
so,
it
like-
recently? It looks average.
Yeah, right.
People thought it was amazing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think about like the level of resources it would take to make an FF9 remake that looks like, or the quality of the FF7 remake would be insane, right? And they would not outsource that to another studio. Like they would not. I don't care. Like unless you're like Blizzard or some like huge studio who's never gonna work on something like that. That would never happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I imagine whatever it's gonna be like something more contained. So.
Do you know the Memoria Project's art style reminds me a lot of like the Spyro Reignited trilogy? Have you guys like?
I platinum that.
Of course,
Straight away.
I love
course.
that game.
But-
it's a Christmas
And then I lost the
tradition here.
game. I don't know where I won.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it reminds me of that a little bit. So like Toys for Bob, if you want to do it Final Fantasy 9, like bring it.
I mean, like, I want the FF9 remake to look like Kenna, but like that game, it would be at that quality level. But FF9 is like 30 times bigger than Kenna.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
think about that. Like that would take forever. Like,
You need a big team.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are. I mean, you don't even have to think about it. You're kind of working on the Memoria project, so you not an official remake, but you kind of get the idea of like, oh my God, this is a pretty huge undertaking, as you guys were saying earlier in the show, and I appreciate all of the insight that you guys have given us. You've told us a lot about what it takes to make the Memoria project, converting PS1. Or remaking PS1 assets that you could barely see, visually blurry or behind the camera, you can't rotate it, and bringing it into a modern Unreal Engine 5. For me personally, I do want to say a very sincere thank you for you guys being on the show to talk about Memoria Project, but also just gaming industry is a passion of mine. I've always been very fascinated with the industry, so it's beyond the screen for me. I mean, I love E3 not only just because of it showing off new games. I just love the industry coming together and all this other stuff. So being able to speak to you guys today has been an honor. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
It's been fun.
no problem.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Just perusing the chat one more time. I just want to make sure you guys got your questions in. Looks like we're good. All right. Well, thank you guys once again. And I believe of 100 nobles watching, 100 were impressed. So. All right, you guys. Take care. Thank you guys for watching as well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and all that other stuff on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe. Push us over that 1,000 edge. That we're really trying to make that push. So thank you guys. And there it is. Take care. Bye-bye.